All right, we are not live here with Ty Jenkins, but I did a workout against him. When did we do this? Last week? Was it about a week ago or
last
longer?
week.
All right.
I think it was actually a little bit longer.
Yeah, that makes sense because I injured my back like a week ago, and it was before that, about a week and a half maybe. So the purpose of this series on Instagram, I'm keeping it real, where I do memes and comedy and things like that. We want to get a little bit more serious on YouTube and do some actual content, but at the same time, we want to keep it fun and entertaining. So the people that we have coming on are very good athletes and games athletes. And sort of the icebreaker that we do is that we have a workout. Now, these workouts are specifically designed for my advantage, even though I will win none of them. So what we had here, what was it? We got 5 rounds. We had 1 legless rope climb. We had 3 wall walks, and we had 10 box jump overs. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. And what did you go in? Just so I know, even something as simple as this, did you go in with like a goal of where you wanted to be per round? Like, how do you think about that?
Yeah, I wanted to definitely start with a round on the minute and then chip away time from there. But really, I knew it was just going to be shoulder fatigue.
Yep.
So it was slow down on the box jumps enough to where you could get right on the rope every round.
Yeah, that was a problem for me. Yeah, my goal was 115 per round, which I think I can do at peak. I'd really like to do this again sometime, and well, I don't want to ruin too much, so we'll just play it and then we'll talk about it afterwards. Let's make sure the sound works and everything. We've got a song too. Everybody who comes on here gets an AI song. If you're seeing this and you're due to come up on the show and you do not want an AI song, you will have to specifically tell me ahead of time. Here we go.
Just doing the let go with the fittest in the world, the 3 times fittest in the world. That's a teenager, his name is Ty Jenkins. I felt so good when I descended the road first, but by the end he was beating me. 0.7 seconds later, it was all over when he jogged to the wall walks, and I just stood there walking leisurely, getting bludgeoned by a games athlete. Why do I do this to myself? Was I chopped on my head as a child? Is it a repressed memory? I think I'll call my mom after to see if that's a thing. I'm not bad on the box jump overs, but Ty, can't you wait a second here while I chalk my hands? Quit going so fast. Quit going so fast. Got a little starting to get gas. I'm not bad on the box jump overs, but Ty, can't you wait a second here while I chalk my hands? Quit going so fast. Quit going so fast. Slow down a little, I'm starting to get gas.
That's catchy, isn't it? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah.
Do you like put the lyrics in and then
I
put
literally
stuff to it?
Yeah, so I literally just write like random stuff. It takes no skill. I like write stream of consciousness, and then you write a bunch of different styles in, and you add keywords, and it'll like spit out different beats or whatnot, and it comes out like it just comes out with the craziest stuff. It's freaking awesome. All right, but
That's cool.
so one thing that is interesting, even in this type of workout. So obviously, if we do now you are, is this where are you about to lap me yet? No. Okay. I'm on the rope climb. So biggest thing, of course, is going to be my time on the rope climb. I don't think I had to take that long. I think I was scared not to. I didn't ever feel like I was going to fail. I was just afraid I was going to fail. And I think in the last 4 rounds, I averaged 25 seconds and you went straight to the rope. Did you chalk at all? I can't remember.
I don't think so. If I did, it's probably like sitting behind the box and on the way.
Got it.
I've been trying to avoid chalk as much as possible, but it is pretty humid in Missouri, so sometimes it's hard.
Yeah. 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 Now, ironically, I was being so weird about standards. I'm like, oh, dude, I don't want Hiller to see me or something. That I was, oh, this is my moment when we're in sync on the box step overs. And it's like I sensed you at my back, and I'm like, he's not going to lap me right now. Watch this. Look at that. We're in sync. I'm one box jump ahead.
Oh, nice.
Even though you said wait, what's going on here? Oh, okay. I was done. And now you're ahead. You lapped me. But that's the big thing, right? They say like transitions. And even with these types of workouts, maybe especially with these type of workouts, when you've got 5 rounds, what I realized after this is that other than the big breaks between the ropes, to me, it's like, yeah, I sat there for a few seconds on the wall walks. But I mean, the biggest, without a doubt, like when you take that much time on the rope and then you multiply it by 5 rounds, it's a whole different ball game.
Oh, for sure.
So how long do you think you could do this for? Here we go. You're about to finish, so we'll give you your moment. The clock is right down there in the blue stuff, 4:34. So, and now I still have one more round after this 4th round. How many more rounds do you think you could have done at that pace?
I don't know. That 4th round, I'm trying to remember what it felt like. My box jump slowed down just a little bit.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I did something before it or if it just between the wall walks. Sometimes I'm bad about really flexing my quads and building up leg fatigue on wall walks. I noticed that during the Open a couple years ago with the wall walks and double unders.
Interesting.
But to answer your question, I think I could have gotten to probably 8 or 9, close to that. The wall walks were actually getting a little tough. Trying to touch and go and be quick on the wall built up some shoulder fatigue pretty quick.
Yep. I just disappeared to space there, like something like I'm throwing up in the background. No, I felt I think I mentioned to you that it's ironic. I still take, I'm not am never going to be competitive. But I'm still competitive at my gym. I still always want to be better. Right. So, before the Open, about a month before the Open was probably my peak. And I was the guy that I remember when I first came to the gym, I was like, how is he so fast? I'd beat him 4 out of 5 workouts on my way to vacation. And then at vacation, I ate bad and I didn't keep up with my training. And then I got back and I had this terrible idea that like 3.5 weeks before the Open, all I did every day was come in and do like an 8 to 10 minute open style workout and then left. And come the Open time, I feel like I'd already gone downhill just a little bit, just from training, just not getting enough reps and time under tension. Like I cut out strength completely and it affected me.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, being well-rounded in your training, like everything translates. It's the accessory work you do. Like just doing sets of strict pull-ups as accessory work are going to translate to your ability to have pulling fatigue in a workout. And so kind of like what you said, like if you're not doing it all and varying that intensity, then you can suffer from it too. If all you're doing is 8-minute open style workouts, then you won't see as many gains as if you're every once in a while doing a 30-minute workout or just doing accessory and lifting. So
yeah, the one I really noticed it on, now I had never had injuries before this year, but I've had a lot. And I jacked up my calf right before 24.2, which of course is the worst workout to do it on because of the double unders. So it was already rough because I had to try to like jump off my heels. But that was the one where I was like, wow, because I'd been doing 8 to 9 minute workouts And when we got to that one and it's 20 minutes, to get a decent score, you're just nonstop. It doesn't mean you're sprinting, but you are not slowing down for 20 minutes. And they say that the open can reveal a lot, at least for athletes like me. And what that revealed was I don't have a 20-minute, like 80%. I might have a full send at that time, 8 or 9 minutes, but I didn't have 20 minutes where I could keep going without gasping for air,
Yeah.
Cool. So, all right, let's get into some personal basic stuff here. The perspective, I do know a little bit about you, but I'm actually trying to actively take a perspective on these interviews of somebody who doesn't necessarily have the historical background in the sport, which I don't. I did CrossFit for 3 years. I only got serious about it 9 months ago. So like, I couldn't tell you who Dave Castro was. I couldn't tell you I would have known Matt Frazier and Rich Froning 9 months ago. So I didn't know that side of the sport at all. And I basically just went in and lifted heavy and didn't learn any of the movements. So my background, very unhistorical, trying to learn. And then I just want to come in and basically interview with that style. There's a lot of people out there who have no idea how games athletes train, who don't know the history of CrossFit and things like that, including myself. So my first question is like, and what I would want to know just coming in without a huge CrossFit background is, for someone like you, when you're training for the teen games, or like when you're approaching game season, like when you had quarterfinals and stuff, what does your day-to-day look like for training? You and others that you know of, just what type of hours do you have to put in and what type of things do you have to hit?
It always for me varies in the part of the season we're in. Obviously the off season, as school starts in the fall, a little less training, and obviously some different focuses, kind of working on the weakness, not needing to be in what we call that peak of performance. And so the last few years for me, it's been in the off season, I've just done one longer session after school. And so if I got out of school at 2:30, head to the gym at 3, be done by 6:30 or 7.
That's long.
And then, when the open rolls around, that's about the time that baseball starts for me. So then it starts to get less fun, because then you're looking at getting to the gym at 4:30 in the morning and then training until school starts at 8:30, and then having practice after school, and then running after practice, or trying to do my outdoor session after practice. And that's just another hour or two, nothing crazy after that. And then that is pretty much the pace of training I'll hold from January until May when school's out. And then when school's out, I mean, the last 3 summers have been a morning session. So I swim and train, and both of those combined usually take from 7 a.m. to 11:30ish. So, and then go home, eat lunch, come back at 1:30 or 2, and then some days it just depends on the volume, but looking from 2 to 4, or maybe even 2 to 5:30, just some really long days. Lots of different locations. I love to try to train outside, go swim, do stuff like that, run, mountain bike, all the stuff. But then a wrench gets thrown in there when you have a weekend baseball tournament and you have to play 5 games in 3 days and still try to train 5+ hours all 3 days. It gets pretty rough, but I'd say for most of us that go to school or play other sports, it's just very, very busy. But we wouldn't do it if we didn't love it, because it takes that love to stay with it when you're having to grind that much.
Yeah. Wow. So that's interesting. I didn't even know about the baseball thing. Are you playing baseball in college?
No.
Okay, got it.
My last year of baseball was last year.
Okay, so you're talking about the past. But so this year, what month are we? When is baseball? You just said it, but it's
baseball
fall, right?
season usually started around January and then would end kind of close to August.
Okay. So coming into next year, you won't have that obligation anymore, and you'll be able to train differently.
Yeah.
Got it. And where was it that you played baseball at?
Branson High School.
Okay, cool. I was thinking college, dude. I keep forgetting how young you are. Are you 19?
18.
My gosh, what a bright future ahead. That's awesome. So this was this your, how does it work? And again, my background, I don't know all these rules, so this is fascinating to me. But if somebody at age 17, like just absolutely kills it during the open or whatever, can a 17-year-old do, I think I saw girls who were that young in the games. I could be wrong. Can you do the adult games or do you have to do the teen games?
Yeah. So last year I tried to do that. In the past, they've made us choose a semifinal. So when I was 16, Olivia Kerstetter made qualified for an elite semifinal. And then I think CrossFit made her choose. You either have to do the teenage semifinal or the elite semifinal. And so she chose the teenage. Then this next year or last year, I just started calling it the Olivia Kerstetter rule because they're letting us do both. And so
that's awesome.
Olivia did both semifinals last year, but made the games, and she made it at 17, like a few other girls. So yeah, pretty crazy. Pretty awesome.
Crazy. That's awesome. So they're different workouts. Like how different are the workouts? Like when you've looked at the teen and versus the games, the regular games, how different are the workouts? Is it just less weight usually, or is it totally different workouts?
Sometimes they make them line up. Like this year's quarterfinals were very, very similar. So my buddy RJ in the teenage game or in the teenage quarterfinals, and the older teenagers, they actually had the same exact workouts, but that's the first time that's ever happened. Usually they are either completely different or scaled down versions. And the biggest thing they'll scale is like ridiculous gymnastic volume. So if there's 80 ring muscle ups in an elite workout, then the teenagers are probably seeing 50 or 40. They still get quite a few, but it's not always the same. And then just the weight's a big thing.
Yep. Makes sense. Okay. That's cool. So you said it was last year that you tried to do both, and this year you were 18 during the open season. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. All right. So running through this then, during the open, I find it fascinating that people always talk about peaking at the right time and things like that. So when you say that, how different is like when you're now, you wouldn't have even been peaking yet during quarterfinals, or you'd be ramping up. Is that right? But not quite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Fitter than the open, but not as fit as I would have been at semifinals, hopefully.
Yeah. And do you I'm sure other athletes who've done the open like for 10 years and whatnot would have a little bit of a better idea. But this year going into the open, it being your first adult 18 to 34 season or whatnot, did you go in having trained just a little bit harder since you didn't know what to expect, or did you just kind of do your normal thing?
I kind of did my normal thing. I made it past the open last year, training how I usually do, which is the open. I barely start doing like serious conditioning before the open. It's still mostly that off season gymnastics and strength work. And so I made it through the open last year when I wasn't super fit relative to the end of the season. And then they opened up the gate a little bit more this year on the open, allowing 25% as opposed to 10% in previous years.
Yeah.
And so I didn't sweat the open too much.
Yeah.
Obviously, I still like our gym does Friday night lights. So we all get super hype and do them in heats and have a fun environment. But it wasn't where I was like, oh, I need to redo this one several times and really make sure that everything went right.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I saw your 24.1. A little bit slow.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember what it was. I know you can go fast. I know you can go faster, man. You beat me. That, you know what was interesting about 24.1? This is what normal athletes Dude, we just talk about the open all the time because it's all we have. So 24.1 with the snatches and the burpees at first I thought was really like basic and I wasn't sure about it. I think that was a really good open workout. And I think that it was a mental test, especially for me, because for me, it was one simple question. Are you going to enter that pain cave and get the time that you want to get? It was the only workout that I regretted, including my horrible 24.2. I was injured, dude, and I did the best I could. Like I really did. I was like 40th percentile on that, and I was proud of myself. But the one regret I had from the open was I feel like I didn't enter the pain cave that I needed to. I feel like I should now. For a normal gym guy, anything that eights is pretty good for that workout. It puts you in the 95th percentile or higher. And I was in the 9s, and it was solely because I did not embrace the pain. I started breathing heavy, took a few long breaks. So that's the interesting thing about the open for somebody at my level is it reveals mental weaknesses as well as physical weaknesses. Now, when we get to quarterfinals, it was a little bit harder this year. It's still probably, I mean, I'm sure you've done a lot harder, but when we get to quarterfinals, what were those tests like? How did you feel about the quarterfinals workouts? Like when you saw them, when you looked at them and how they stacked up for what you needed to do, what were your thoughts on those and how did you feel going into it?
I hated the workouts. I never see released workouts and am just like, this is amazing. I love every single one of them, unless all of them involve 500 meters of swimming. Then I'll have that feeling.
That's awesome.
But I really didn't like, ironically, the step up one. I just not a fan of box step ups. They're a hard movement to make up ground on. Not necessarily the standard, just they're a slow movement, and I have bad grip. Historically, that's been my limiter.
Okay.
And then I really didn't like the clean and jerk one, but that ended up being one of my better finishes.
How many did you get at the 245? How many reps did you get? Oh, I think you cut out.
It literally just did some math, and my was standing next to me and was like 3. And he yelled at me, and it was perfect. I mean, it was we held the same pace the entire time, and then tried to get a few more reps in the last 15 seconds. But that was a hard workout. That was mentally the hardest.
Okay, you cut out. I didn't hear how many reps you said you did at the 245. Oh, dang!
But
what was it? Oh, wait. So it went. You cut out again. Sorry. You were good. You just keep cutting out at the wrong time. So we're talking about the clean and jerk workout, and it went up 225, and then what was the final weight? Oh darn, you're cutting out bad now. Can you try to maybe connect and reconnect? Or maybe you can disconnect your AirPods and then reconnect them. No biggie. We can always cut this part out. Oh, I think it's going to work. Try it again.
Do I sound any better?
I can hear you now. You at first were kind of. I think we got you.
Okay.
245, right? Okay.
Yes. Could be Wi-Fi issues, but
it's all good. So it was okay, so the final weight was 245?
Yeah.
Okay. And I had asked you were cutting out. Do you remember how many reps at 245?
Yeah, I got 24 or 25, but I think it was 24.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, that is a good score. So we had that. We had the fight gone bad style one. There was the burpee one that I think everybody probably just hated. That was not fun. And
That's my
then
favorite.
was it really?
Yeah, that was my favorite.
Did you do good at
That
that
one
one?
was pure. Oh, it was how much do you want to hurt? I think it was my best finish. But that
So
is like
funny.
my favorite thing ever.
Yeah, I had my gym nemesis, and me and him were doing it together, and it was fun because I'm terrible at wall balls. Short people, I'm 5'8.5", and sometimes, I mean, not at your level, but short people tend to have a little bit more difficult time with that. And he can do I think he can do 100 wall balls unbroken if he needs to. And I don't think I could do more than 40 if my life depended on it. Like, I just hate wall balls. So we had that, but he hates burpees. And so I'd finish the wall ball, or he'd finish the wall balls and get like 10 ahead of me. And then I'd come for him on the burpees and get to the wall balls first. And it was like this back and forth. So that was fun. Cool. And we
Yeah,
had
I had a good little race.
Oh,
I had a
nice.
good little race going with Kendall Gilmore. She's a
Yeah.
17-year-old that went to the semis at the West Coast Classic. And
Okay.
kind of same thing. I broke the wall balls up so I could really gas the burpees, and she was faster off the wall. But then it was like, and she's amazing at burpees, but it
Yeah.
just came down to just being consistent. And then we had a little race the last 25. It was fun. It was really fun.
And who won?
I did, but she had a higher placement than me
Okay.
as far as relative to her field. So
Got it.
she
Okay.
technically won, but
Okay. Got it. Now, did you do those at a consistent pace, or did you go through spurts? I'm guessing you're gonna say when you do burpee box jump overs, you're trying to keep a steady pace the whole way through. Is that right?
yeah. I had some number in my head. I forget it now, but I was looking at the clock. I had a certain second. I was going every 4 reps,
Okay.
but not like pausing ever, just making
Yeah.
sure I was on that pace. And then with 35 left on the last round, I started sprinting.
Full
And
send.
yeah, it sucked. It's
I
rough.
bet. Were you on does Ty Jenkins, 3 times Teen Games champ, does he collapse after workouts when he full sends it and squirm on the ground like the rest of us, or not really?
I don't lay on the ground. I think
It's a bad
that
image.
shows something in my mind just says every time I've competed and seen someone laying on the ground, in my head, I'm like, I'm tougher than them because they're laying on
Yep.
the ground right now. So
Interesting to say
anytime
that.
I try not to in training, but especially
Yeah.
on a competition floor, like
Yep.
I'll maybe go lean against something and suck wind because I'm suffering, but I don't lay down.
Yeah. So, you know, what's funny about that is I totally agree with you. Although I definitely was doing that. I had made a habit during practice. Now, my habit that I had made was it's actually, and you know, we'll just touch on it because I don't want to keep you forever, but we'll get into the stuff. The way that I met Ty was the whole box step controversy. Ty had done a post. I was reaching out to people about the box step controversy, trying to do a little bit of investigative journalism, seeing what I could come up with as far as consistency in the standards. But I was very intrigued by Ty's post. Ty's a Christian. I'm a Christian as well. And he had at least at that point, he had a really good perspective on it. And the way that I'm tying this in is I was convicted at one point as a Christian that the way that I laid on the ground after workouts, particularly when I was trying to train hard, this was before the open, and I was trying to get better. I said, dude, you can't just get better. You can't just get better at one thing. You have to try to have excellence in everything. And one of the things I started doing is when everybody else was on the ground and at our level, some of the workouts, sort of rightfully so, like certain workouts, but no matter what, like I got up and I started putting my equipment away immediately. And I just felt like that's like the thing that's more glorifying to God. Now, if you got to lay on the floor because you're going to have a stroke, by all means do it, you know, but I just felt like I didn't want that lazy look. You know what I mean? At the gym, you know, if I'm trying to represent Christ and people are watching, I felt like even those small things sort of can can put off a vibe that maybe isn't right. I know people that no matter what you have to say about God, about your faith in Christ, they might have one thing in your head that if you do this, I'm shutting you down. And I knew a couple people, older people, who, if you were lazy, they didn't want to hear a word you had to say because they work harder than you. And I get it too. And that kind of stuck in my mind. And that's one of the reasons I started doing that. So I love that attitude. I really do.
Yeah, it's interesting with I thought about it a little bit, especially in the in the Midwest. It's humid here. Everyone sweats a lot. And another thing is like when people are laying on the ground and stuff, you leave a huge imprint, and it's like it's not very honoring to the gym owner who's got to clean that up.
True. Good point.
And like I get it. If it's really bad and you feel like you might pass out if you're standing up, kind of like you mentioned, like that's fine. But when you can be tough enough to stand up and avoid getting your sweat everywhere, then I say do it. But I mean, teach their own. So
I think it's a good practice. Like I think if what I found is like when I tried to build discipline, and I've gone through a lot of phases in life, I tend to be all or nothing. Like if I'm waking up late, my discipline starts to falter in other areas. So for me, it's like I have to try to be disciplined at everything, or else I'm disciplined at nothing. So it kind of went in line with me training a little bit harder. I didn't learn toes to bar until last August. Like I've done it for 3.5 years now, but I just went to the classes. I never actually did anything extra to learn new stuff. So I didn't do ring muscle ups, and I got up to, 10 ring muscle ups until I hurt my shoulder. So I haven't been able to do those in a while, but going along with all that and the discipline, I agree. No laying on the ground. All right. Box steps, juicy stuff. All right. So just to give a quick background, going into quarterfinals, did you have and you don't have to share it either if you don't want to. I know you're a competitor. Some people might not like sharing it. Did you have a specific goal that season of what you wanted to happen, or what you wanted to happen during quarterfinals this season, I should say?
So I want to make a distinction kind of with how I process things mentally. So my goal every year. Oh, sorry about that. That was weird. We both had an alarm go off at the same time.
You had an alarm too?
Yeah, I did for a phone call tomorrow. That's funny.
That's so weird. Well, it's a little bit early, your alarm.
Yeah.
I want to change that for AM.
Yeah, it was just a reminder to set an AM alarm.
Okay. I'm going to text my wife. I'll text you when I'm done in here. But you know what? At some point anyway, in one of these things, my beautiful, adorable little girl is going to walk in anyway, and that will be totally fine. But I prefer it not be this one. So, where were we? What was I talking about?
So I have different perspectives, and I talk about goals versus expectations. So my goal every year I compete is to win the CrossFit Games. Even this year, that didn't change.
This is what I was curious about. Yeah.
So my goal with every season, and we're already working towards 2025, is to stand on top of the podium at the CrossFit Games.
Yep.
But then you have to have expectations, because the goal is what you're working towards. And it would be a lie for me to say every second I'm in the gym isn't working towards standing on the top of the podium at the CrossFit Games. Like that's what we train for. But then going into competition, you have these more realistic goals that I call expectations. And so my expectations going into quarters were I was going to be somewhere between 35th and 45th. And I was going to have to do everything I could to make it to semis, because the top 40 went.
Yep.
This is in North America West.
Yep.
And then after the first two workouts, because we had to submit the first two workouts first, and then they posted a half a leaderboard, and then you did the two other workouts and got to post those. I was sitting in like 18th, and then it changed to, all right, so let's stay in the top 20. But going in, my goal was just to make it. Or my expectation was you have the potential to make it, but you're going to have to be really tough, and everything's going to have to go right.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, it didn't. But
What was your the assessment from yourself and others who know you? What was the assessment as far as do you feel like you had, I shouldn't ask that question actually. Do you how do I phrase this? Did people around you, and they might be biased, they might not be biased, did people around you think that you were at the level, you kind of hinted at it where you said everything needed to go right? Your goal is the CrossFit Games. Do you think that at quarterfinals, going into semifinals without what had happening, that you were at the level to make it this year? Do you think you're borderline, or do you think some weaknesses were revealed that you might have had to have everything go right in order to have a chance?
I think it was another everything would have to go right.
Yep.
I liked the semis workouts a lot better than quarters. But again, there's never a comp where I'm like, I love every single workout.
Yeah.
But there were definitely a couple that I really thought I had an opportunity to do well in. So obviously I was a little upset because I thought it was a good year of programming.
Yep.
But I mean, yeah, I think the expectation if I got to semis would have been top 20. And then maybe knocking on that door of that 11 spot.
Yeah.
That would have been pretty cool.
Did you do the semifinals workouts?
I did not. So I tweaked my shoulder on the last workout of quarterfinals. And so I've been kind of waiting for that to heal up. So
on the rings or on the handstand push-ups or the rope?
The clean and jerk.
Oh, I keep getting them mixed up because people did them in all different orders. And I think a lot of people did that one first, didn't they?
Yeah, a lot of people did.
Okay. Got it. Okay, cool. So you liked the workouts though at semifinals, and you think you would have had a chance if you were at semifinals? You think you would have had a chance? Like you said, you think you'd be top 20 creeping up to that 11 potentially if you did well?
That's what I've been told just by people who know me and my fitness really well.
Yeah.
And as well as other athletes in the sport. But as far as my mind, it's just every day you attack it like, let's go out there and get as many points as possible.
Yeah.
I never put myself mentally into the shoes of competing with those workouts there.
Okay.
So like, would I have shown up at the West Coast Classic and you asked me this question 30 minutes before the event started, I might have said, let's not get last or something like that. But it really it's so situational. It's easy to say here that I would have been top 20, but there's no way to know that. And I don't want to say with confidence that I would have been top 20 because that's a bold claim. And there's only one way to find out that answer.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's an overestimation of my abilities or not, but that's what I was told by several of the people who know me pretty well. So
yeah, I mean, that's all you can do. You do the best you can to have good people around you, and then you have to trust their assessments. Okay, so on the box steps, how did you find out that you got a minor penalty, didn't you, or was it a major? Major or minor?
It was major.
Okay, and how many did they take away?
34.
I think the most. So I hadn't looked at this. I'd seen it before. I think I got frustrated all over again for you because when I looked at the fact that you weren't that far outside, even with the penalty, that's a little bit maddening. How did you find out? And I want to kind of go through two perspectives. Although you might only have one, you might process things a different way. This is just, I'm curious about your initial reaction. We talked about the fact that, I think sharing a mutual Christian faith, we both know that there are natural reactions, there are fleshly reactions, and at least certain things, you need a moment, you need some time to try to process them through a biblical and Christian lens and like, what is God teaching me from this? So that's what I'm really curious about. First off, like how you found out and what the initial reaction is, how you worked through it, and what your ultimate perspective was, and whether or not that shifted like in the weeks following. I know that was a lot, but just talk about it and I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah. So I found out at school, unfortunately. we'd been watching the leaderboard closely because I was not one of the first people hit. I was actually one of the last people hit with it. So several
darn.
people had already been hit by the major penalties, and so we were just watching. We didn't necessarily think my video was going to get penalized, but we were
Yeah.
just like, "This is crazy!" Like, I know Paige Powers doesn't have poor quality of movement, so for
Yeah.
her to get hit means just about anyone's fair game.
Yep.
And so I actually was taking a Spanish test, and I don't think I did good on it, so I think I was already upset. And then I
Yeah.
opened my phone. I didn't. I had my phone powered down for the test, and then I opened my phone
And you've
to a
got the
text from my
message.
dad
Oh,
that said, "Call me," and I knew. I was like, "Yep, that's it." And so there's a little double whammy. And so obviously, like, just upset, frustrated, because I I think I was 16th or 17th on the leaderboard at the time,
yeah.
and going in the region, and that was way higher than we expected to be. So for a week after quarters, we had this false hope almost, or excitement
Yeah.
to go to
Yeah.
semis in the top half, and I'd be in the third heat. Like, that was huge. And
Yeah.
then
That would be huge.
just it was just a little heartbreaking. But then
Yeah.
just we tried to appeal, and none of the emotions really hit until after the appeal was denied, because there was always the hope of appealing. There always
Yeah.
is, even if
Yep.
they don't even look at them.
Yeah.
But I don't know if mine got looked at. I never got really a reply.
I'm
but
gonna be the controversial one and say they did not look at all of them. And I don't
Oh,
mean
well.
all. I don't. Yeah. Oh well. The Hiller quote. Okay. So you went. Now what did they cite? Was it hips? Was it the head in line with? Was it like? Were they saying you weren't extending the hips, or was it soft knees? What did they say it was?
They said, like, the top position of the box step up failed to meet the standard, and then they said, "See the box step up standard," and then they quoted like 3 sentences from the standard, which is basically the whole standard, but it was like knees, hips, and head in line with the body. So it was like,
Was your
3
head
different
down?
things.
Do you think that's what it was, or did you notice times where, dude? Here's the thing that's tough about that movement. There are, I mean, how strict do you want to get, right? Like, look, I love Patrick Vellner. I've actually chatted with him a few times. He's a really nice guy through Messenger. He's a funny guy, and he's talked about it a lot. So, when I watch his video, I'm like, yeah, that's usually what they look like during the gym. But I could tell, like, yeah, his knees got soft. You're moving really fast, and the one knee starts to go before the other one. It's by no means is it cheating, and most people, to some extent, have a little bit of that. And it looked like his hips weren't completely extended, but it was a behind view. They said you could do any view, so it's hard to confirm that. When you looked at them, what did you think?
So we had the
Yours,
same
not
game.
Patrick Vellner's.
Oh, yeah. So we had a camera angle from directly behind.
Okay.
I did the workout alongside several other athletes out there, so limited space, bad camera angle. I'll admit, it's our fault for setting up a not very smart camera angle. But looking back, there were definitely no reps among them. What frustrated me the most was that it was 34 reps that they took away. They were doing these blanket percentages. So I got 15% deduction. So it was 34 reps. And I mean, but at the end of the day, and this is kind of what I addressed with my post, is like, I didn't move perfectly. And I think there were a lot of athletes who were frustrated with CrossFit, and rightfully so. Like, their season and livelihood was ended. But at the end of the day, the only person I can blame is me, because I didn't move perfectly.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating to not agree with the amount taken away, and to not feel heard on my appeal. But regardless, like, there were no reps among them. And it's like, I think the best thing for me to do to stay composed and everything was just to be like, hey, it's my fault because I had no reps. And I truly believe that. I knew there were some. I watched the video. Like, I didn't move perfectly. So it happens. But it just sucks that a season can be ended that quickly.
Yeah, dude. It does.
It's just tough.
Do you know, Like if you had, let's say you were doing it really exaggerated where you like almost pause for a second at the top and do the straight standing up. Do you have any estimation of do you think you could have got pretty darn close to what your score was within a couple reps of it? Or if you exaggerated it more than you normally would?
I needed like 6 more reps, or not even that. I think someone did the math, which just made me more upset. To make the cut, they needed to give us back like somewhere between 3 and 6 reps.
Yeah.
And we do that any day of the week, and and that's what makes me even more frustrated. Is like I could have done about moving perfectly. We could have avoided all this, and so that's why I take the blame, is because I know I could have done that score perfectly, and for you can't spot you're trying to sprint, and that's on me, because I thought that I was really going to have to perfectly execute and send every workout to make it through. And so I mean, you do sacrifice a little bit of technique when you're sprinting, and so it's 100% what happens. And I mean, it's.
You know, what's funny is that I did a post. This was very early on in my content creation. It's like one of my old ones. I only started doing that like 3 months ago, but it was like a headline video that said random Midwest Kansas resident accidentally perfectly completes box step ups with perfect. I don't know how I phrase it, but and the reason why is because I was so tired at the top. I was just like, and I was just like locking out, because it was almost a mechanism. The pause that I did at the top with my head up and like everything straight, it's like I need a moment anyway, so I'm extending. So basically I accidentally did those perfectly, which was funny. So as far as, do you feel like when you heard about that, you immediately had a Christian perspective of all things working for the good of those who love God and who are called according to his purpose? Do you feel like it took a few weeks, or do you feel like it's something that you still are looking at like, man, this is tough to look at through a Christian lens? Hey, do that thing with your headphone. I think you've been cutting out a lot. Just the last one. Can you try that thing again? It worked last time.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. One of my headphones died, so that's probably what happened.
Okay. I can hear you great though. You're good.
Yeah. Okay. As long as this computer mic's working, we're good.
Yep.
So one of the ways I think that this worked out well, and I pray a lot about, like, I'm blessed to be able to do this, to be able to compete at a high level and get financially supported to do so is a blessing that not many people have. And even I heard Colton Mertens talk about, it's like a privilege to do this. It is. Yeah. And so a thing I pray about a lot is like, Lord, this is awesome, and I'm so grateful for this. So please help me give this back to you. And any platform that I build, any competition that I win, like I want people to see me and then see Jesus through me. And so as I've kind of built the platform on Instagram, that's the thought I have. I am very overthink my posts, because I'm like, will this be seen in a bad light? Like I want this to point people towards Jesus, and not, so I don't post anything out of emotion. I premeditate on most of my posts. But I think one of the ways I got a lot of support for that post of taking ownership and
that was good,
pointing fingers. And so I think that was a way that it was like, it not necessarily that people saw Jesus directly through that, but a lot of people noticed that was a different outlook than any of the other athletes who got hit by those penalties had.
Yeah.
And so then when people asked, I had several people DM me and they're like, dude, I would be so mad if I were you. Like what's going on? Like, how are you not so distraught? And I'm like, I place my value in being made in the image of God and by who lives in my heart, rather than things of this world, including CrossFit. And so like, I'm never look at myself as Ty Jenkins, 3-time fittest teen on earth. Like I'm Ty Jenkins, like child of God, and
Yep.
my sins have been covered up and paid for by someone who came and lived a perfect life and died for us. And like, so that has helped me not mentally just like, okay, CrossFit was taken away from me this season. It's not my being. Ty Jenkins is not gone. Like that.
Yeah.
And so that's been my mindset through it all, even through the winning. That's been every year I go into the season with like the goals to go stand on top of the podium. But if that doesn't happen, my value isn't any less and my purpose hasn't changed. My purpose is not to win the CrossFit Games. I'll never say that. It might be my goal. That's never my purpose.
Yeah.
So I think that post was a way that it worked to kind of point some people to the Lord and help me use my platform for good. But then you say like, is this working in a way, for a plan for my good? I don't know about that. There are a lot of some of the verses about that, about God working for our good.
We're going to get
I'll admit I have confusion about them, but the way I look at it, we have a very clear warning in the book of James that our life's not going to be easy.
Yep.
And so for me, I look at those verses and it's like, okay, God's working things together for our good. I think that good is heaven. And so I'm not always 100% certain that everything that happens to me that's bad while I'm on earth is leading to me becoming a millionaire or me having success on earth or me being like happy and healthy and everything here on earth. I think a lot of these things work towards the kingdom of God and his will. And that's for us to share it to everyone else. And then I think that good that's waiting for us is heaven, not necessarily just because I missed the games this year. That means I'm going to go win it in 2027.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think what I'm talking about when I say it is, so there's an already and a not yet, and all throughout scripture, we see, how would I describe? There's multiple aspects in which, there's even, the sense that we have been saved, we're being saved or sanctified, and we will be saved, glorified, and they all have a different meaning. We've been saved is judicial. We've been saved from the penalty of sin. We're being saved. That's very practical. We're being saved from the presence of sin, and then we will be saved where we won't have a body that still has an inclination towards sin, right? So when I say working towards your good, I've had a lot. One of the things that's exciting about you is that you're so young and you're in the place that you are, because I've had a ton of up and downs growing up in a Christian home, straying, and then even having difficulties as a Christian after I determined that I'm going to live my life for Christ. And there's been a lot of change. I've had times where I've slipped back into bad habits and I regret them all. I have scars from them all. It might be able to be forgiven, but there's not one thing that I've done that I've made a poor decision or a set of poor decisions for that. I guess I wish I couldn't take back. There's never been a time that I've done something for Christ where I regretted it. And there's never been a time that I've sinned where I haven't regretted it, I think is the way I would put it. So when I say all things for the good, what I mean is, I'm not saying that we all to an extent have to beat pride down and try to be humble. But when I say working all things for good, I just mean the ultimate purpose of being sanctified, right? When we talk about discipline in Hebrews, because I've got beat up. I got beat up moving to Kansas. I think I told you about my neuromuscular condition. That's beat me up. That one, I'm still not completely. I've really struggled with that one as somebody who gets some anxiety, and it's a very claustrophobic feeling to have your body doing things that you can't control. And so the ultimate good in that I would say is if that condition doesn't go away, hopefully it will help me to hope for a greater place more than I do right now. You know what I mean? Because sometimes I remember right before I got married, I was like, man, it'd be cool if you come back, but you just wait a week. I'm really trying to get married and do some of these things I've never really been doing. So if you could just wait a week, that's what I'm thinking in my head almost. You get so caught up in the good things of this life that sometimes for me, I feel like certain things that aren't very fun have to pull you back and give you a perspective that this isn't our home, if that makes sense. That's kind of what I was getting at. And maybe just because it's been so prevalent in my life with like bad things that have happened. Yeah. Not that it's the worst thing in the world to miss some box steps, but you have poured your like a huge chunk of your physicality and just who you are into that. So for it to end abruptly, it's still very difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, it is tough. And I think a lot of people who are struggling mentally in the sport and burn out, a lot of the young athletes, it's because you put so much time and effort into this. And if you don't have something outside that you can rest in and have peace in, it's like, okay, I had a bad day of training. Now I hate myself. And I mean, I know that's very, very dramatic and polarized.
Well, a lot of athletes have quit and it could be like what you're talking about, or have taken a step back.
Yeah, but then they get down on themselves, and then one bad training week feels like it's the worst thing ever, and there's no hope. And then, or a bad competition or anything like that, or pressure. I mean, pressure is a big one. That's the biggest one that gets to me, is expectations from other people.
Interesting.
And it's like that can mess with your head if you don't have something else holding your value down. And so,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's real good. Something you said reminded me of something. Something happened. I won't give the specifics, but it's such an indicator, like an idolatry indicator. I would compare it to like in high school, somebody saying something bad about you and your heart just sinking. Like maybe it's a girl you like or something like that. And she says something bad about you and your heart sinks. I had something that happened, nothing like that it caused my heart to sink. And I was like depressed the whole evening. And I had to start asking myself, why are you depressed over this thing? Like how much I clearly had put too much value in that rather than in the thing that I say is the most important. I was kind of focused a little bit more on other things,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you mentioned it earlier, but just, it's easy to, this is like broad, not really CrossFit related, but
Sure.
It's easy to look around and just kind of society and everything that's going on, not even just in the States, around the world. And it's like, there's a lot of evil going on, and it helps me mentally knowing that this isn't my home. And the more I look around, I'm just like, this place is not my home. And I'm grateful for that, because
it's getting easier for me to say that.
Yeah.
Looking around. Agreed.
Not to say there aren't moments of life that I don't love. And I mean, absolutely. And that's what makes it hard sometimes, is there are things that our flesh loves too. And we got to be careful of those, because those aren't glorifying to God. And ultimately you got to weigh the scales, because they're not worth it. So
not worth it. I can speak to that. Any vice I've ever had that was a struggle to get rid of, I would just be, and this is, if you know that you want one thing, if you know that, it reminds me of Romans 7 or 8, where Paul says, the things I want to do, I don't do. Some people argue about whether or not he was a Christian. That doesn't really matter. The point is that for every Christian, the battle between flesh and spirit, it's like, if you genuinely want to be this Christian person and you give in to temptation, which can be strong sometime, it kind of makes you depressed, even miserable, depending on what it is, because you want this one thing and now you're not acting in accordance with it. And whatever you've done or have been doing has taken you farther away from who you want to be and where you want to be, right?
Yeah. And it's this constant battle between what your flesh wants and what your soul wants. And in the moment, the flesh might win, but you get hit with that conviction, because especially if you have Christ living within you, that conviction hits you pretty hard, because you're reminded that your soul, nothing in this world can fulfill your soul. And it's like, it's tough. I mean, it's a struggle that a lot of us go through daily. And I stumble a lot, but I mean, the big thing is just, it's like, man, this it's hard. I mean, I guess I don't know where I was going with that, but like, just
it's hard, dude.
It's hard to explain, but it's tough living in a world where even the what the flesh wants is so normalized, and I mean, it's crazy and so difficult just to live for the Spirit and to think about what we just talked about. Because, you know, in the moment, like the flesh may win, but kind of like I talked about, the soul, man, it yearns for something that we don't have here. But the patience is what gets some of us.
Yeah. That's the one thing that I do look forward to. Some, like, if there's anything that I can relate to, it's wanting a new body, and not because of certain things, issues that I have with my body, but because I know that I want to be like Christ. And it's so frustrating that in certain ways I have failed miserably, and you have to start rebuilding, whether it be, you know, early on in marriage. I've been married now for 7 years. Early on in marriage, there were things, and you wake up like 3 years into marriage, and you're like, I came into this with such pure motives, like to love my wife like Christ loved the church. And I look at myself and I'm like, you're very immature at this. You're not doing well at this. And it's times like that, and in general, where you like, I'm just like, man, I know what I want to be like. I just don't even want this body anymore that desires these other things, to be selfish and to be this and that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Be great to get rid of that. Okay, so we'll get this wrapped up because I know it's been forever. So this is it. I'm sorry that you're my test subject, because now I know that I need to get a little bit more organized and not be so long-winded. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a final like speed round type thing, and this is just kind of a fun ending to everything, where we're gonna go through some favorites. You don't have to answer fast, but just kind of get to know you, to sum things up. Are you ready? It's gonna be like 10 questions, just whatever you got, like favorite this, favorite that.
Okay, sweet. Let's go.
All right. Favorite food or cheat meal?
Ooh, cheat meal is, or I guess so, pre-competition meal, chicken Alfredo, without a doubt, every single time. Ton of carbs, so good.
But not the day of, the night before.
Night before.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Favorite meal I have on a consistent basis. I do peanut butter banana sandwiches a lot.
Bro.
So yeah, those are kind of my two.
That's what you do? When do you eat it? When do you eat it?
Right after training. Lots of carbs, a little bit of protein. It's pretty good.
Bro, that's my number one. The only, I'm not joking. I call them banana boats. My mom used to make them for me. Sometimes I'll slice them. Sometimes I'll do like a half long slice, and I'll just like roll it in a piece of whole wheat bread. And I'll put peanut butter on it and some honey. And the only trouble I get into is if I eat it too close to my workout, like right before, sometimes I'll feel it, but that's my favorite too. All right. Music. And that's the whole question. Music question.
Okay. All over the place. Josiah Queen, Luke Bauer, do some indie Christian music that I've been rocking recently. I grew up diehard Toby Mac, DC Talk, Newsboys fan.
Yep. Nice.
And then now a little bit of country. Cody Johnson's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And then don't listen to any rap except NF. He's got some good, so
yeah, I like NF. I'm sure you know. I know they've gone a little bit of a different route, but you know about. Why are there? Okay, never mind. You know about Lecrae and all them.
I mean, Lecrae. I know that I listened to some of their music growing up, but.
Okay.
I mean, what do you mean different route? Something happened?
They're just not as explicit anymore, like explicit about the gospel. Like I remember his old albums were like the first line of one song was, "Lord, kill me if I don't preach the gospel." Now, he came out and was real honest about some strayings that he had, and he has really come back. And but they're just a different route in the sense that they're, I don't want to quite say watered down because it is genuine. It was just very theological and gospel centric before, with it. He talks about Jesus and stuff. It's just a little bit different is all. So
gotcha.
The reason I bring it up, I actually have, is this going to show up correctly? Is that backwards or not? My 116.
No, is that the 116?
Yeah.
That's cool.
That was the first one I got. And the reason I got it was because I played basketball with my shirt off all the time back in like 2014. And I thought it was a good one that people would say, "What's 116?" And I get an opportunity to talk about it. So, all right. What's one workout or movement you hate?
Pistols. They hurt my knees.
They hurt everybody's knees, my man. All right. What's one workout or movement that you love?
Swimming, if that counts.
That counts. Watch out. And watch out if you're ever at the games, man. Not
I
everybody,
love swimming.
not everybody has the swimming down. All right. Who is your favorite CrossFit athlete
Ooh,
that you would root for?
that's hard. Because I've had some awesome training partners. Jessica Griffith, when she competed, Cahoy now, she's married.
Yeah.
She was awesome. She was my first ever training partner. Root for her anytime she competes. She has a family now though, so she's done. Christine Kohlenbrander, still in the game. Root for her. She's one of my favorites I've ever trained with. And then just people I met through interactions. Noah Olson and Chandler Smith are some of my favorites. They're super awesome people, super nice, super genuine. So I always root for them if I can.
Nice. Yeah, no, one of my good friends, we got to know each other right before I left Southern California. He was at Invictus, and we talk a little bit more now. He's just became masters. He's a little bit younger than me, but he was on a team. He, at this point in his life, he has a kid and he has had a recent child and things like that. And he did a lot of workouts with Chandler and with Jorge Fernandez when Jorge was at Invictus, but he was on the fourth team. So they made it last year to the games. He was on the third team that made it. This year they were outside looking in. He was kind of the anchor of that team, but you don't know him. Do you know Eric Carmody, or have you heard of Eric Carmody by chance?
Yeah, I've heard of him. I don't know if I can put a face on him, but
yeah, he's kind of an OG. He made the games in I think 2016 and 2019. So
awesome.
yeah, for sure. He says that he said good things about both Chandler and Noah. Okay, so this is an interesting one. Is there a CrossFit athlete that you have had the most healthy competition with, whether it be somebody that you competed against at the team game, somebody you trained with, or somebody that you just talk smack with, texting back and forth? Anybody you could think of that you've got a good, healthy competition going with or had?
I'm not a smack talker unless we are super, super close. Like my brothers are really the only ones I talk smack to. But best competition relationship I have is probably RJ Mestry.
Okay.
We've competed together 3 years at the games.
Yep.
1 year we were in different age groups, but still the first event we were on the field at the same time. He had lighter dumbbells, but we still did the same workout.
Yep.
And
That's
like
cool.
We were racing then.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, like just
were you literally at the same time? Like was he in one? Could you see him?
He was across the field from me. We actually ran in for our last round of rope climb and dumbbell shoulder overhead. And he handed me a piece of chalk he had in his shorts while we were running.
Oh, that's cool.
Like a healthy but still competitive, because we've always just Wadapalooza, the games, we've always been against each other.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's one of my favorites to compete against. He's so good at what I'm not. And so a lot of times we go back and forth winning events. So it's not necessarily winning, but we go back and forth on the leaderboard. And so it's definitely fun to compete with him.
Have you done, as an adult, the 18 age group or whatever, have you done any of the other big events yet or no?
Not in the adult division because I haven't had an off season as an adult yet.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely shooting for Wadapalooza, Rogue, Dubai. We'll see all of them. Some of those are hard to get into, but
you'll have to do qualifiers for them, right? Because you get in through certain requirements or invites, but then you can do a qualifier. Is that correct?
Yeah. I think 15 for Dubai and Rogue are invites, and then 5 are qualifiers. And then Wadapalooza hands out some invites, but I'll definitely have to qualify.
Got it. Okay. All right. This is such a gym bro question, and I have to ask it. So my thing used to be that I was always the strongest at the gym, and then I was 198, and right now I'm about 175. So I just love asking this question. Okay. What is your heaviest? We're going outside of Olympic. What is your heaviest that you can remember if you max? Some people don't. Bench press, deadlift, and squat.
So I had not hit a 1 rep max deadlift ever. I've done a heavy clean pull single at 500, which is essentially a deadlift, but it's double overhand and in lifters. The setup's a little different.
Yeah. I've done
and
them before. Yeah.
And then I don't know. I've done working sets like 485 conventional deadlift.
Yeah.
But it's just one where that risk to reward ratio isn't enough for me to be maxing out deadlift.
You're telling me, bro.
But if it shows up in competition, yeah. I had hit 295 a year and a half ago bench and hadn't done any maxing since.
Yeah.
And then I hit 305 for 4 the other day, but still haven't gone any heavier. So hopefully north of 315, not sure, on the bench. And then back squat.
I'm about to put that weight back on just because I have a chance at that one.
Let's go.
320 is my most. I haven't done strength since the open. I'm just integrating it back in. I've been working on Olympic technique a lot. I only have like an hour a day, but I'm going to start dedicating more time. I have another so I have another gym membership right next to the house. I'm going to start doing some of that stuff. But if I picked up the bar right now, I'd only be able to do about 275. So maybe when I get stronger. All right. Squat.
And then I think my best
or front squat.
I think so. My front squat is really close to my back squat, which is a problem. But I think I have a 425 or a 430 front squat, and then like a 450 or 455 back squat. Okay. There's not a huge gap there, so I need to figure something out. But
so that 365 in your video today was not actually a struggle.
No, I didn't have a belt or knee sleeves or anything.
You just went. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, what's a weight that I'm not going to look like I'm having a huge trouble with, but still heavy. Yeah. So
I was honestly giving you a hard time. It looked totally fine. Like you can have a rep look like that and still do like 10 reps. That's the one thing I don't tend to lose as much, which is weird. When I lose weight, my bench goes and my deadlift goes. We were supposed to max at the beginning of a cycle, and then we maxed at the end of the cycle the other day. And my training partner had started to take the plates off, and I was going to go. We just went up to like 350, and I was going to keep going, but he had taken them off, and I felt good. So I think I'm still at 400, but I never got up that high. It was 420 for back squat was my best, and front squat 355, which I was actually really proud of the 355 because it took me a while to build up my front squat.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I figured, you've got some pretty thick quads, so I figured your squat was pretty decent. Okay, almost done. 2 more questions. Career that you would pick other than CrossFit. If you had a career option other than CrossFit, what would your career be if you could choose anything right now?
I would design engines for performance companies like Hennessy or Roush.
Nice. I like that answer. All right. And then the last one's an interesting one. A lot of people have different opinions on this. I'm curious, as an elite level athlete, your opinion of the open. I don't know why I added this in the quick questions, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you like it being more inclusive like it was this year, seeing the bigger picture, or honestly, like from your perspective, would you rather it be like it has been in the years before where there were more workouts and they were a little bit more difficult?
I like the 3-week open, and I like workouts where everyone can start them. I think there's some clever programming with one that maybe got repeated last year. The one that starts with a row and ends with ring muscle ups. It's got like power cleans and toes to bar in there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember when that originally showed up.
Oh wait, last year?
Yeah, but it's a repeat. It's been done once or twice before as well.
Bro, you just totally triggered me. I did that workout 27 times. 23.1.
Wild.
I have a little problem. I get obsessed, and I might have even told you this. I couldn't get the rings at the end. And this was when I could do 10. I think I did tell you this the other day. It was when I could do 10 ring muscle ups, and no matter what, I couldn't get the rings at the end. It was driving me mad. I had 3 minutes. I'd go over to the bar and I'd hit bar muscle ups, but I couldn't hit the ring muscle ups. So yeah, I hate that one. But did you think that was like a good example of a good open workout, or?
Yeah, I think it's clever programming because everyone can start that workout and get a decent way into it, regardless of your fitness. But then you would get some really fit people who maybe have a skill gap would get to those ring muscle ups and just have to stand there, which kind of stinks. But overall, it's solid programming because most people who can't do ring muscle ups aren't getting there. And so stuff like that, absolutely. I like that. I want everyone to be able to do the workout. I think Friday Night Lights and doing them as a gym is one of the coolest things in CrossFit. I love the community of a local box. And so absolutely inclusive open. But maybe put some higher skill at the end of the workout for the elites.
Yeah, there were some other ones where I don't remember the exact workout. It was 22.3, I think 21.4, where you had like the front squats or the thrusters. And then as you went along, you went from, I think it was pull-ups, then chest to bars, and then muscle ups. And then there was the one where where you started off with the double unders and the thruster weight increased from 90. I think that was 23.3, I think. Even that one where the time kept getting extended on the handstand push-ups and the thruster weight up to 135, stuff like that. You're right. Like it gets difficult as it goes on, and it creates a natural barrier towards athletes who have gaps. So I agree 100%. All right, cool. To wrap it up, where can we find you? What are you up to? Do you have any plans? You mentioned a little bit about some qualifiers and stuff. Anything interesting you have coming up that we can be on the lookout for you for? Or is it just kind of a season of rest until new things come your way?
More of a season of building, I guess. Just kind of really, I'll do some off-season stuff or try to. Wadapalooza, Rogue, Dubai, maybe even like there's one in Spain that is pretty popular that would be fun to do. But it really just comes down to my sights are set at semifinals next year to be as fit as I possibly can and make it out of semis next year. And so that's the focus, but along the way we might do some fun stuff. So yeah, those off-season camps, and then I'll just be training in South Missouri for anyone else wondering. But I'll be all summer. So
yeah, man, I'm in Wichita, so I get it. Perfect, man. Well, hey, thanks for coming on, and we will be on the lookout. I'll make sure to update people as we go along. If you're competing in any stuff, I'll give it a post on my Instagram. Right now, it wouldn't really matter because I don't have a whole ton of followers, but at some point, maybe we'll get your name out there more. Appreciate your time, man.
Heck yeah. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah.